Okay, and welcome into Another Dooley Noted Podcast. So glad you could join us here on this Friday. We got a couple of good guests for you. I think actually both of them will be joining us by telephone, but they'll be on their screen on their cell phones. Mike Bianchi, we're going to talk a lot of different things with him, and of course Jeff Cardozo will be joining us on the way to South Carolina where he's covering baseball. So he'll let his cohort Castaldo and Cardozo, man, it's quite a team they put together there. Drive and he'll do the show later on. We'll talk about that Gators series coming up. Obviously, it's weird to me the way this tournament has taken place in terms of the timing of it. And of course, look, we all know nobody's happy Florida got beat. We all know that. I get that. I totally understand how you feel about that, and that's fine. Believe me. But just the fact we have such a timing issue and that we've never had a tournament like this where they played on Monday and then there's no game till Saturday, and you're always having to find out. Before it was you only were looking to see where True TV is because you never watched True TV. Now you got to look and see when they're playing, what day they're playing. So finally we're going to get a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 this weekend and then into the week. And I was thinking about this though. Because, look, we talked about it. That was a devastating loss for Florida, for Gator fans. There's a lot of angry people. They want to get Mike White out. It's not going to happen, but they still want him out. And I get that. And I started thinking about something. I was flipping over on my phone to some news headlines and reading them. And I'm reading about mass shootings. I'm reading about situations in Syria. I'm reading about the two sides of the aisle can't get together. And I go, I'm going back to sports. It's so much more fun. Look, at least you know there could be a win somewhere or there could be something glorious happen. It's unscripted. It's great. Yeah, you're going to be disappointed, but it's never life and death. It really isn't. I mean, we've seen people actually die on a basketball court, hang gathers. We thought Keontae Johnson at one point. That's how scared that was. But it's a game. And it'll be over. One team will win. So there's been a lot of people are still upset about that game, obviously from Sunday. And then you see this mass exodus, and now people are questioning Mike White again. Obviously, Trey Man, you have that kind of a finish to your season. You're a 5-star. You're going to give it a look. You're going to go pro. You're going to see. You may not get drafted, but I think he will. It's amazing. Florida has not had a player drafted since 2013. Think about that. That is stunning when you think about it. So, you're allowed to be. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to yell at the refs. It's okay to watch two guys screaming at each other on TV. That's fine. It's not that serious. Just enjoy it. Just try to enjoy sports because sports is great. And it really is, to me, has been the ultimate distraction this year. It's always a distraction, but it's really a distraction this year. For example, today I'm watching TV, and it's one of those shows where they're yelling at each other all the time. And they had a 4-man panel to discuss a trade, an NFL trade that they invented, that they came up with. Here's a trade that could happen. Maybe we'll see this happen. And then they spent an hour analyzing the trade they made up. But that's okay. It's okay. We just watch it. We try to watch and enjoy, and hopefully our teams win. And when they lose, it's bad. It's like a Greek play. So obviously with other people that have left, Noah Locke surprised me a little bit. I think Noah Locke's got a little bit of that. I think I can get more. I want to go somewhere where I can get up more shots syndrome, which we see with a lot of guys. Michael Frazier left Florida because he didn't think he was getting enough shots. Andrew Nemhard felt like he wasn't getting enough shots, so he went somewhere where he wouldn't get up hardly any shots. But he's happy where he is, obviously, at Gonzaga. I mean, this happens. It's college. We always applaud the transfer portal when it works for Florida. When it works against Florida, you're like, I don't like this transfer portal. I don't want guys leaving. So we'll see where Noah Locke ends up. We knew Quez Glover would be gone. I mean, he didn't play the last 4 games at all. just because he wasn't very good and just wasn't good enough. So, and then you had, of course, Mincy, the assistant coach, Jordan Mincy, leaving to become the head coach at Jacksonville University, and congratulations to him. Hopefully he does a really good job there. And now Florida has an opening. And everybody's going to say the same thing. Mike White, you need to hire an older guy, a guy with some experience, a guy who's been around, a guy who's handled things like this, like being in the tournament. You need to hire a guy like that that can help you, much like Billy Donovan did with Larry Shyatt. And Larry Shyatt, of course, coached defense, and everything worked out pretty good. They won 2 national titles. So, but it's still, maybe it's good to kind of break up that old gang of mine that's been together, the other assistant coach, and then, of course, Al Pinkins came in. But, and to get a new set of eyes on everything. Maybe it's good that Noah Locke and other people they're going to end up having a different team. It's going to be a different team next year. And that's where sometimes people get frustrated. We don't know how it's going to all turn out. We'll just see. But certainly, it has been weird to have this. And the other thing I was thinking about today, by the way, is how when you have these upsets in the tournament, they're not even upsets anymore. I mean, Gonzaga being in the tournament still is not an upset. Loyola Chicago, I'll be honest with you, that's not an upset. That team, I watched them play in the regular season. They were really good. And they were just in a Final Four 2 years ago, right? And how we can't have that in football. And the reason we can't have that in football, it's not just the environments that these guys are in. It's not just that, and the teams keep going and going. And, and guess what? Gonzaga, because they keep going 22 straight NCAA tournaments, they just signed another 5-star guy or got a commitment from another 5-star guy. They're going to keep going. And that's what I think everybody wants to see in football. So more than one team can get all these players, and it opens it up. Well, we don't have opportunity. It's not there. You get 68 spots in basketball. You get 4 in football. And it's a miracle we have 4. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to change that. They kept telling us they didn't want to do that. Then they did it. And now we have 4. So that's the biggest reason why I don't think you'll ever see, you'll see a fluky team eventually. I mean, what's the biggest fluke team that's ever gotten into the playoffs? I mean, really, it's standard teams. It's teams one would expect to be in. And you don't see that in basketball. I mean, because basketball, these teams have more of an opportunity. They get to coach, or they get to play in a tournament that has 68 teams. So they're able to do that. All right. So that's my rant on all that. And right now we're going to go talk to my good friend, one of my best friends, the legendary Mike Bianchi. Mikey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Pat. I'm sitting in a parking lot of a discount liquor store with shady people around me.
All right. Well, if you get mugged, we're not liable for it. Okay.
How do I look? Do I sound okay?
You sound great. You look good, and hopefully you're going in to get some liquor after you get done with me.
Got my Bob Dylan T-shirt on, as you can see.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's very nice. All right, let's talk about this NCAA tournament. And of course, as you know, and you wrote a really great column about it, about Mike White, and the fact that he sat down Omar Payne, which was, I think, a lot of coaches wouldn't do. And then they lose, and they lose in the manner they lost, and everybody is back upset with Mike White again.
Yeah, and again, we were talking about the Gator basketball program today, obviously with Lon Kruger retiring and all of that. And we were going, and I was trying to explain. I got some young guys on my radio show, and I was trying to explain to them the history of Florida basketball. And yes, they had some success before Billy Donovan. Lon Kruger took them to the Final Four. Norm Sloan had a pocket of success, but nobody was ever able to maintain it, barely able to get to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, before Billy got there. And yes, Billy had a long run of success. But again, Gator Nation needs to understand that Billy Donovan was a generational coach. I still think Gator fans think that those back-to-back national championships were like the trend. No, that was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. A generational coach with a generational bunch of players, lottery players who decided to come back and go back-to-back. That'll never happen again. So get that out of your mind. Mike White is he's a good basketball coach. He gets them to the tournament most every year. Hopefully he can make a run some years. Some years he's not going to. So again, Gator fans need to get over the back-to-back national championships and thinking that is the trend. Dooley, you were around. Weren't they giving Billy Donovan grief when he was getting ousted in the first round for 5 straight years, or the first weekend for 5 straight years?
It was unbelievable because I remember our friend Martin Fennelly kind of holding court going, "The bloom is off the rose with Billy Donovan." And, of course, everybody's running back. "That sounds like a good idea. I'm going to write that." And but it was. I mean, he'd had 5 years. He'd won 3 games in the NCAA tournament, and people were starting to wonder. I think they were a 2 seed that year and got knocked out. But then he had the right guys, and they were able to do something special. But the other thing, Mike, I really believe is Florida fans got to taste the greatest nirvana in the history of sports. Football, basketball, national champions. In a 3-year run, they had 4 national championships in the 2 biggest sports. And they want that again, even though it may never happen again for anybody, let alone for Florida. But they can't get that taste out of their mouth.
Yeah, and again, I understand you want to have success in the NCAA tournament. Mike White did have the Elite 8 run in his 2nd year, but again, I always go back to Florida State. Leonard Hamilton, look at this guy. He 6 straight years when he first started at Florida State, 6 years in a row, did not make the tournament. Florida State fans wanted him fired. They said, "Hey, this guy can't cut it. He's competing against Billy Donovan. He can't get it done." And Dave Hart, the former AD, said, no. He's close. We're going to stick by him. And here we are 2 decades later, and Leonard Hamilton has an elite basketball program, 3 straight Sweet 16s. He's, at 72 years old, he's having a career renaissance. Why? Because Florida State was patient. And again, he wasn't even making the tournament. Mike White's at least making the tournament. Again, that should be the expectation for Gator fans. Make the tournament every year or most every year and occasionally make a run. Mike White, one of only 5 coaches in all of college basketball who's won a game the last 4 years in the NCAA tournament.
You're preaching to the choir here. By the way, if you want to get a question in for Mike, you can reach me at our Ironwood Golf Course text line. How about that? We're sponsored by a golf course.
Hey, Dooley, are we live right now?
Yeah, we're live. So where are you going to go?
We're live?
Yeah.
Well, I'm supposed to say this, all right? I can win a buddy of mine a 12-pack of beer. Them Gator boys are listening, and we better put on a good podcast today. So.
Okay. But,
them Gator boys.
The text line is 352-600-2300. I'm not even going to ask you why you have a Hitler mustache there. I mean, what is that about?
What do you mean?
There's not. It's a weird looking, like you get the little thing right here, and that's it.
No, there's other mustache. When I was putting on my Just for Men, I might have put too much darkening right there. That's probably what it was.
Oh, yeah. My God.
Otherwise, it'd be all gray like yours.
Yeah. Well, I shaved mine again because it was somebody thought I was like Colonel Sanders or something. We did get a comment from Michael Tudine, who wants to know, what if UCF don't get him started?
Is that Jeff Tudine's brother?
I think they're related. I'm not sure. Maybe his son. I don't know.
Okay.
If UCF could have gotten that run, because I was talking, and maybe they would have made the playoffs. I was talking about how we We don't get in football what we get in basketball. There can't be a Gonzaga in football because there's only 4 opportunities to even get into the tournament. You get 68. You can come up and do something great, and then you do something great again, and people start coming there. Gonzaga just got another 5-star commitment, but we can't get that in football. And
Dooley, I'm so old. No, but Dooley, I'm so old. I was going back yesterday. I went back to 1999 when Gonzaga upset Florida in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, and that was like a big upset. In fact, I wrote that the Gators choked it away with this upstart, and I called them Gonzaga. They Gonzaga'd. They choked. And little did we know that Gonzaga was going to turn into an elite basketball program back then.
They'd be in every tournament up till, I mean, they've been in 22 straight tournaments. They got the longest streak going. Who thought that would happen? I do want to ask you about, because I don't pay attention to the NBA, but I was looking and I'm like, Orlando trades this guy, Orlando trades this guy, Orlando gets rid of this guy. What did the Magic do yesterday? Did they freak out or something and just let everybody go?
They just blew up their entire roster. They traded Nick Vucevic, who's their only All-Star. He's a 2-time All-Star. And, they traded him to Chicago, so Billy Donovan now gets the Orlando Magic's All-Star. I guess that's, Billy Donovan, reneged on the Magic 10 years ago or whenever that was, and now he's getting their best player as well. No, it's a bad business model in the NBA. If you're in no man's land, if you're either bad or mediocre, the only way you even have a shot at trying to get good is to blow it up, get draft picks, roll the dice, hope you hit the draft picks. And a lot of times you don't, so you just get stuck in this endless rebuild, which is what the Magic have been in, an endless rebuild. And now they're trying, and again, this is the latest version of the rebuild, and Magic fans, of course, are downtrodden and beleaguered because, again, it's going to be at least another 3 years before they can even see any fruits, if they see any at all.
Yeah, that's not fun.
That's the business model of the NBA.
It is.
Unless you're the Lakers.
It's a business model of baseball, too. They have those fire sales, down the stretch of the pennant. It's just, it is what it is. What's your take on... Yeah, but at least
go ahead. At least in baseball, though, you can at least make a run, like the Rays can make a run, all right, before they have their fire sale. The Marlins may... In the NBA, you don't make a run. You're either good or you're not good. There's no coming out of nowhere in the NBA.
What's your take on the revolving quarterbacks that's happening in the NFL, where we see, obviously, now Russell Wilson's name again in the mix? We've seen guys go from one place to another, and it's kind of crazy that I don't even know who is where anymore.
Well, I think what you're seeing, I think the NBA started this, obviously, with players wielding more and more power. Now, this has nothing to do with, like Carson Wentz and guys like that getting traded, or Matthew Stafford. But when you have your Russell Wilsons, Deshaun Watson, before he got into all of his issues with the female massage therapist, I mean, these guys, your top quarterbacks now are acting like LeBron James. Hey, if they call the shots, if they want to go somewhere else, they can force their way out of town, because there's nothing ownership can do about it if you have a disgruntled superstar on your team, except get as much as you can for that disgruntled superstar and move on. That's what the NBA does when James Harden wants out of Houston. He essentially says, get me out, get me to the team I want to go to, or I'm not going to play hard, or you're not going to want me on your roster. And that's what's happening in the NFL now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that people who are getting paid are the ones who don't want to play hard.
Right?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. All right, before I let you go, I got to ask you a football question, and I want to see where you are on the whole Dan Mullen situation. I mean, of course, I think sometimes people make too much out of nothing. Sometimes people don't make enough out of something, But, going into this year, it's funny to me, Mike, how last year everybody said Florida's got to beat Georgia. If they can't beat Georgia, then the heck with it. You know, they're not making any progress. And then they beat Georgia. They won the division, and now everybody's like, Georgia's a better team now. It's so much about the quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, and nobody knows if Florida has a quarterback or not, so they go, Georgia's better.
Well, and a lot of that too has to do with, I mean, we all know how college football fans, they look at the recruiting rankings,
Sure.
and they take those recruiting rankings as if they're the law. And, you know, Georgia, based on their recruiting rankings, Kirby Smart is one of the elite recruiters in the country. Dan Mullen, probably a notch below the Kirby Smarts and Nick Sabans and, you know, guys like that. So I think the recruiting rankings have a lot to do with it. But, I mean, here's the thing. I think, you know, yes, fans make a big deal about all of that. But here's the other thing. When Dan Mullen didn't get his contract extended, all right, and he probably will pretty soon, but when he didn't get his contract extended because of that NCAA probation and probably because of some of the things he said and did during the season, I think I think Scott Strickland was sending a message to Gator Nation that, hey, we're not going to put up with some of this nonsense. So, and good for Scott Strickland for that, by the way.
But also, don't you think that part of it is you don't want to go on the heels of a show cause and give a guy an extension because it looks bad to the NCAA. It doesn't matter whether if you want to wait till July to do it, it's fine.
Yeah, and that's probably what's going to happen. But just the fact that just the fact when every mediocre or even below mediocre college coaches, guys like Jeremy Pruitt get extensions before they get fired. For Mullen not to get the extension with 3 years left on his contract, that's sort of eye-opening in college football.
How will Josh Heupel do at Tennessee?
I think Josh Heupel is a hell of an offensive coach. Obviously they're in a major rebuild up there, but I think Josh Heupel is as good a play caller, as good an offensive mind as there is in college football. Tennessee will at least be, again, I don't know what they have coming back on offense exactly. Tennessee will at least be exciting on offense, and hopefully for Josh Heupel, he can get the fans excited with his offense, and then, 2 or 3 years, hopefully have them back up to snuff. I think Josh Heupel's a good coach. I think UCF didn't appreciate him enough.
And how will Gus Malzahn do at UCF?
Well, I think he'll do great. I mean, Gus Malzahn, obviously he gives UCF a little cachet as far as, with the Power 5 big boys, because he was at Auburn, even though he got fired at Auburn. Gus Malzahn I think Gus Malzahn is the perfect coach for UCF. He's in his 50s. He's probably not looking to go anywhere else. He's not using this as a stepping stone. Everybody knows Gus Malzahn is a really good offensive play caller. He's going to get back to that. He's not going to let anybody else call his plays for him anymore. He said that his first day at UCF. So I think UCF has a coach who's going to be around probably, for the rest of his career if he wins. And I think that's perfect for UCF.
The unofficial ambassador of Interlochen, Florida, Mike Bianchi. We will let you go, and we appreciate your time so much, and have fun in the discount liquor store.
See you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. All right. That was Mike Bianchi. Of course, we always appreciate him coming on the show. Maybe you were watching him. Apparently his friends were. Watched him on Facebook or YouTube. And, of course, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and WRUF.com. 39 different platforms. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We appreciate everybody, all of our sponsors of Another Dooley Noted Podcast, and especially Titan MRI and ABC Fine Wine and Liquors for being our title sponsors. All right, so we got another question here. What percentage of SEC schools do you think are like LSU/Will Wade and cheating with recruiting? Do you see this a way out of the shady business of NCAA basketball? I don't think the NIL will accomplish it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to make it better. There is a lot of cheating going on. I do believe in my heart that's one reason why Billy Donovan got out and went to the NBA. I think he was fed up with it, with everything, and the recruiting was not, it was getting really bad. Not everybody cheats, but a lot of people do. And there's a lot of things involved there. But I don't know that the NIL, Michael, is going to help anything. I think it may be kind of just a different version of things, or even a sleazier version. I mean, the idea is that the players get represented with their name, for name, image, and likeness, and so they can make some extra money. And but you never know how it's all going to be administered. Nobody's shown me a plan yet. Show me a plan. I'd like to see a plan. All right, so we need to get to, what do we want to do? Do you want to do the, we can do the Leonardo's or Leonardo's. Leonardo's at Millhopper. Quick Picks had a great lunch with Kyle Cohen and Joe Calorio, two of our sponsors, and they're also title sponsors of the Bob Dooley Invitational. So we had a great meeting about that, and excited about it. I actually am kind of getting fired up. We're not that far away. I think we're 50 days away, believe it or not. We're pretty much full, although I had somebody pull out, so I may have one group that's open. But we appreciate everything Leonardo's does. In fact, gives away pizza for a year. They're going to have actually pizza on the golf course during the tournament. And the quick picks are always a lot of fun for everybody. We had new qualifiers in that 4 people qualified on the Monday question. And I have their names. Oh yeah, Drew Berry, Darlene Berry, so husband and wife, I assume. George Luttrell, and there was one other. So we're at 8 right now. 8 people is all we've had qualified because people keep missing. So I'm just going to throw them out there. You got to get them both right. You get them both right, you will qualify. And we're going to do this one and one more on Monday, and then Friday we're going to make our next drawing. It'll be our 3rd drawing, and it's always been fun to draw and then send the whatever the people won. Of course, they're going to win $50 at Leonardo's, Millhopper. So that's always a lot of fun. I get excited about that. And then we'll start another contest, a brand new one. This is what we like to do. We like to give things away. All right, so here are your categories. Potables. No. Here are your categories for the Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks contest. Number 1, total wins, baseball and softball this weekend. They both have 3 games. We assume they'll play all 6 of them. You never know with rain. You got to get a break there. Softball, of course, big series with LSU here at home. That'll be a lot of fun. I may sneak out there for one of those games at least. And then baseball, of course, has they're at South Carolina, and we'll talk to Jeff Cardozo in just a little bit about that. So that's one, just the number of wins. It could be 0 to 6. Can't be any more than 6. Can't be any less than 0. You can't win minus negative games. And then the other one, very simple. Yes or no, Alabama and FSU will meet in the Elite 8. Just a yes or no question. They could. Do you think they will? FSU would have to beat Michigan. They could. They're good enough. So, all right. So we will take a break right now and hopefully come back with Jeff Cardozo on the road again on his way to South Carolina and talk some Gator baseball with him. We still have to get to 3 things. We still have to get to Adam's Ribco, Gator of the Week. I'm excited about that. And, of course, our favorite, this, that, and the other, all that coming up on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. All right, welcome back. I forgot about my little echo there. Welcome back to another Dooley Noted Podcast, and it's a great pleasure to get a guy who's on the road again, and Jeff Cardozo, who is almost in Columbia, South Carolina, getting ready for Florida's big baseball series. Just tell Eric Castaldo not to kind of sneak a peek over. He needs to stay over there on his side.
There he is. You can tell him.
That's Gator baseball royalty in that car. That's something.
That's right. No, it's good. We're excited. It's a little different still not being able to travel with the team. They of course came up yesterday. We'll at least get to the point where we're able to do that towards the end of the year. But no, it's another big weekend. It's going to be interesting to see what this team can do, Duels, because they didn't have a midweek game, and it seems like every other SEC team did have a midweek game. You were playing so well. You obviously had that great series against A&M, and now you got to come up here and hear that stupid rooster crowing every 2 seconds. So if they can handle that, they got a chance to maybe get another sweep, at least win 2 out of 3 and get off to a really nice start.
You know me, I don't have a lot of tolerance for things that are stupid, but I think the rooster crowing is the dumbest thing in all of sports. I mean, why would that get you fired up?
That and the Whistler at Vandy, they're right up there.
I don't want to go on the road with you. But yeah, this South Carolina team really has struggled to hit the ball, but I know, again, they just faced Vandy's pitching. But they're 12th, I think, in the league in hitting, and they really struggled to be able to hit the ball. And that could be good news for Florida with the pitching, the 3 starting pitchers that they're going to throw up there.
Yeah, it's one of those teams where you just got to be careful of one guy. He's got 11 home runs. He's kind of the middle of the order guy. He's slugging a whole bunch, but he hit a whole bunch of homers early, and then he hadn't really done much in league play. It's only been one time, but the better teams that they've played, he hasn't done too well. So good pitching, and it looks like his kryptonite. And then they've got a Gainesville kid, or at least a Santa Fe kid, in Andrew Eister, who wanted to come to Florida a couple of years ago, went up to South Carolina last year. He played a part of that shortened COVID season. He's got some power. He's got 3 home runs. He's the decent RBI guy. So those are the 2 guys you really got to stop. But other than that, if Mason, Leftwich, and Barco can keep pitching the way that they've been, should be able to silence the bats pretty well. Now, on the other side, they can pitch it pretty well. They strike out more than anybody else in the country. They're averaging like 13 strikeouts a game. So Gators are going to have to be careful there, put the ball in play, make sure they get some runs when they have a chance to. But other than that, nothing really scares you on what's normally a pretty tough place to come win some baseball games.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, do you feel like Florida right now has, at least for the time being, solved the bullpen situation, or do you think that it's still in flux?
Well, I think that really goes back to the starters. If Mace and Leftwich and Barco can go 7 innings, then yeah, the bullpen's solved because you only got to get 6 outs on the back end. So I think that's why Kevin O'Sullivan really wants to keep the pitch counts low, wants to allow those guys to get into 6 or 7 innings. But yeah, Alimon's been really, really good late. You still don't know what's happening with Ben Specht. He's still got some arm issues. And then the other guys are iffy. You know, is Cabarcas going to be able to come in and get some lefties out? Can Timmy Manning get some lefties out? I think we've seen Trey Vanderwide be able to do that and at least play that role. So, yeah, I think you've got some lefties there, some options there, but the right-handed side, especially without having, a Nesbitt or some of these guys that are out right now, you got two guys. You got Christian Scott and you got Alimon, and those are the two that you hope can come in and do really well. So far, so good, but we'll see.
You know, one thing I did not realize until I was looking through some stats today, getting ready for the show, and I've seen it happening, but I wasn't aware that it was happening to this level, is that Florida leads the SEC in errors. And that's got to be driving Sully out of his skull.
Well, first of all, I'm proud of you for doing research. You are very prepared, and it's a good job of you. It scares the heck out of me, too. And it's something that we've talked about. You're trying to find the best lineup. And that best lineup, of course, has Kirby McMullen at third base because now you put Gassetti, the freshman catcher, back there, but then you have to DH Hickey. So now all of a sudden, well, shoot, you can't DH Kirby, and then you can't put Halter at third, and you can't have Carry-On at second. I mean, Rivera's been really iffy at shortstop. I think he's the guy that most errors on the team. So, but that's not normally him. So you think that he's going to get better. But in order to have your best offensive lineup, you've got to be able to now take away some defensively. The outfielders are fine. It's just a really scary sight when you've got a ground ball hit to the left side of the infield. What the heck is going to happen? And hopefully they do it enough, or at least they score enough runs to be able to take away from some of those issues. But you remember, I mean, all these great teams that have gone to Omaha for Kevin O'Sullivan have all been, if you look through the record books, they're some of the best fielding teams in school history. So to not have that, it's to be determined. Is the offense, which is really good, going to be enough to take away some of those liabilities defensively? And can Florida pitch it enough without some of these guys on the back end doing their thing in order to be a good enough team to make the College World Series?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, early in the year, I thought the biggest weakness was a catcher and defensively, and then Gassetti's stabilized that spot. But in other areas, like you said, it's kind of tough for Sully to sit guys that can hit and play guys that can field. You got to be. There's a fine line there about how much you can do of each.
Yeah, it's like when we play golf in a scramble together. You know, are you going to be good enough chipping it from 30 yards out, because that's where I'm going to put you, in order to warrant me allowing you to be on my team?
Are you warning me about Monday? I mean, are you saying you don't want me to play now? Do you want to bring somebody else? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want you big time, because you'll be short and steady, 250 right down the middle.
250, 210. Although I've got it up to about 220 now.
I know.
But just last thing for you, Jeff, and I appreciate you being on as you and Eric Castaldo pull into the Rooster City. Is that what it's called?
I think so. I'm not gonna buy you one of those T-shirts that say "cock" on it. They have a lot of those.
They do have a lot of those, yeah. But how important is it for Florida, not only from the standing standpoint, because look, Vanderbilt's they're not going away. They're going to be really good, to at least get 2 out of 3 out of this. I mean, if they don't sweep on the road, it wouldn't kill me. But you go 1 and 2, and now you drop back, and your confidence gets hurt again.
No, I think they have to. You got to win 2 out of 3 against a team like this, because you have so many tough opponents. I mean, Ole Miss comes to town next week, and we know how good that they are. So, I mean, you got a little bit of a leeway by getting that sweep in the first weekend against Texas A&M. But I think you're exactly right. Vandy's not going anywhere, and they're going to sweep Missouri this weekend. So if you drop one, then you're both going to be 5-1, and you know that's going to put you still in a good spot. But if you can stay ahead of them because of what you were able to do opening weekend, I think that would be ginormous. So we'll see. I think Florida's going to play really well. I think the mindset's there. I mean, we certainly know what the pitching staff is going to be able to do, and if they can face adversity on the road and not have any, I guess, downtime from what we saw and not being able to play games during the midweek and not being a part of that, then I think they'll be fine. They had a really good practice yesterday and talking to a couple of guys this morning, and everything's good. I think the weather could be a little bit of a factor tonight. All those storms that came through Alabama yesterday and caused a lot of those tornadoes are making their way up into Columbia tonight. So there could be some rain out there, but the rest of the weekend's supposed to be nice, and just go out there, do what you're supposed to do, and play well. And I think this team has a chance to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the first two games against that South Carolina played against Vanderbilt, they got 2 hit and no hit, and they came back and won the third game. I don't know if I'd have much confidence going out there to play after getting 2 hit and no hit.
No, and give them credit for that. It shows you the resolves. They've got a coach that has been successful. I mean, he's been to Omaha, and he's trying to reestablish this program from what now their athletic director did and those so many great years. I was looking through my shirts to pack on the trip, and I had a 2010 College World Series shirt. I didn't bring it. I just couldn't muster it up enough to relive what South Carolina did to the Gators back then. But
that was brutal.
It was bad.
But I mean, it was a great to get all that way and to be out there that long, but then to have it in your grasp and not be much like basketball did on Sunday night.
Yes, very much so. And much like what Florida basketball had to go through with South Carolina a few years ago, that chance to go to the Final Four. So we got to make up for that today or in the rest of the weekend too. So there you go, Gator fans. If the Gators can sweep, then it's payback for what happened to basketball a few years ago.
I like it. And we appreciate you taking the time, and make sure Eric gets you there safely, man.
We just pulled in.
There you go. Perfect timing.
We're good,
huh?
We're good to go. So say good job.
All right, Eric.
There he is.
Thanks, Pat. I'm glad to be. I'm glad to be his chauffeur.
Well, he needs a driver, and because that's all he can do is drive.
That's right.
Can't ship.
Of a different sort.
All right, Jeff. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yep. See ya. Have a good weekend.
All right. You too. Jeff Cardozo joining us. We appreciate him for joining us here on the show, and kind of a fun show. Different today that we had 2 guys who were actually on their phones because they were out of town. So although Bianchi was at a liquor store, I can't believe that he, like 2 hours before he was, I got to go to the liquor store at 2 o'clock. He had to be thinking that. I mean, anyway. All right, I tell you what we're going to do. We are going to start off. Well, we'll do this, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and do the other things. So you know what's coming. And so we'll do the 3 things sponsored by the Gainesville Quarterback Club, where Dan Mullen will be the speaker on April 6th. Now, he will be Zooming it in, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure. And I will be there, though, live. So if you come, you can hear what I have to say, and then Dan will be there. We'll take questions, and it could be kind of cool. So appreciate the Gainesville Quarterback Club for all they do. All right, number 1, 3 things. And Bianchi mentioned Lon Kruger retiring today. It kind of stunned me yesterday when it happened. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, he's actually a couple years older than me, so I understand why he retired and probably ready to quit the grind. It's kind of funny that he, did take 2 teams to the Final Four, and everybody looks at Lon Kruger as one of the great coaches of all time. And I love Lon Kruger. He was great to us when we were here, and one of my first really serious dates with my wife was at Lon Kruger's house. It was part of a deal, the sports festival thing, and then we went over there and everybody had dinner. I mean, it was dozens of people. It's not like we were exclusively invited over, but still, he was just lovely, and I always liked the guy. I always liked him fine. But it's funny, in the NCAA tournament, he's 22-20, and he's considered a guy that everybody thinks is a great coach. So just remember that number, that stat, that Lon Kruger is barely above 500 in the NCAA tournament, even though he took 2 teams to Final Fours, including the one here. And we love that team, and we love him for taking that team to the Final Four. Nobody's going to ever say anything bad about those guys. Those guys are that coach. Now, when Lon Kruger left here, it was a weird deal, and that nobody could believe it because they thought Florida was a destination job. What I think the average fans didn't realize is Florida, basketball-wise, was not a destination job. And we had to kind of get it taught to us because Gator fans were not that – I don't think they were that hip on basketball. You know, they would love to go get excited, jump up and down, run around. Hey, Gators won. But, you know, it wasn't – if they didn't win, it wasn't that big a deal. Hey, the football team's doing okay. They'll be okay. So, you know, it was a weird dynamic, and that's one reason that Lon Kruger left. You know, Vince Carter was the straw that broke the back. He was a kid from Daytona, as you all know. Guy's been like a 90-time All-Star and was a great player at North Carolina. When he lost him to North Carolina, that was when he just said, I can't recruit to Florida. I can't recruit the great players to Florida. And so that's when he went to Illinois. So that he had a lot of negative things to say about Florida up there and to other papers. In fact, Chris Harry, I remember, brought the clippings to the Florida-Illinois game that of everything that Lon had said negative about the University of Florida, because Florida played Illinois in the 2000 NCAA tournament. That was the second game after the great game against Butler. And so we asked Lon all about it, and every time he'd go, obviously, that's not what I meant at all. It was kind of an interesting day. But anyway, I still, that was just that day. I think people have a real affinity for Lon Kruger and usually root for him, even though not against Florida, but they usually rooted for him. And so I think everybody's kind of sad to see him go. And they'll never forget that team that got all the way to the Final Four, won 4 games. And that was a little luck and a lot of grit and a lot of find a way. All right, number 2, I mentioned the Gator errors. I shouldn't have mentioned them because I had them written down as one of the things I wanted to say. That is a little ridiculous, the Gator errors. 27 errors already this year, last in the SEC. That's not good. It's got to get better. And you, like he said, and I believe this, that the shortstop will get better. Rivera will get better. He's a better player than that, and he's just struggling for some reason. But they do. That was a good point that Jeff made. How they do have to move guys around, and do you hit this guy? He's not as good a fielder. And sometimes I've seen teams just say, "Look, we're playing." I remember when Judd Fabian was a freshman. We're playing Judd Fabian in center. If he gets any hits, it's great. We don't care. He's the best center fielder, so they played him, and he got a few hits. He got a lot of hits, and now he's become this. Really good hitter. He's struggled up and down. He's been up and down a little bit. I'm rambling now. So we'll go to number 3. Read this story. I think it was Ross Dellinger, who we'll get on the show in a couple weeks. So Ross is great. I want to wait and let him get through with the championship, with the basketball championship, and get him on the show. He's a really good writer. I really like the stuff he does. The show was about Nate Oates and Eric Musselman, who, of course, kind of rank 1-2 in terms of being the hot coaches or the best coaches in the SEC. One in Alabama, one in Arkansas. They're both the only 2 schools still alive. And it was how both those coaches did it the same way, in that it was all gas and no brakes, always be moving forward. And of course, when I say that to you, you shudder just a little bit because you have a coach who believes in braking, and that frustrates Florida fans a lot. And it doesn't mean it's wrong. There are different ways to coach a basketball team. And one year, Nate Oates could have a team that's all gas and no brakes, but they got a leak in the gas line. They can't win. But I do think that it's almost like, Nick Saban had this thing. I don't even know where it was from. It was on Twitter today, and it was fascinating. Him talking about, you ain't going to win with defense anymore. Those days are over. There are not going to be any more elite defenses. I am paraphrasing. I think that's where we are with basketball, too. I think you can be a great defense. It'll keep you in games. But if you want to win, you better be able to score. You have to be able to score, and you have to keep your foot on the gas at all times. Don't let it off. All right, you're up 20 with 2 minutes to go. You can let it off. You're not up 11 with 12 minutes to go. You just don't do that. All right? So there's my other rant for the day. All right, we got to take a break. We still have 2 things to settle when we come back. We still have to do when we return the Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Excited about this one. And, of course, my favorite, This, That, and the Other, sponsored by Dark Shacow Insurance and, of course, the Ballyhoo Grill. So we'll do all that when we come back. And that's all I can think to say. You're watching Another Dooley Noted Podcast, or listening.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Again, you can watch us on Facebook and YouTube, and of course we have all these different platforms you can listen, WRUF.com among them, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So tell your friends about it. If you want to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We're building some momentum here. We've had great guests. I think you guys have enjoyed all the guests we've had. Today with Mike Bianchi and Jeff Cardozo was a lot of fun. Monday, our guests will be Lee McGriff and Chris Doring, so 2 of the great receivers in Florida history, and we'll just keep going. You know, we had the great Danny Werfel last week. I'm efforting to get some other people. I don't want to give you names because then you can say you never got them. Well, maybe I will. Maybe I won't. We'll see how that goes. All right, it is time for the Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. We do a Gator of the Week and a Gator of the Weekend. And, of course, Adams Ribco getting ready to move down by our house. And, man, I was excited to see those pictures on Facebook. We're going to be shooting a commercial for them pretty soon, and once we get the signage up. But they're going to have a to-go place out there, and right there where the Little Caesars used to be. And I think I'm going to have a lot of eating even more barbecue than I was eating before. So that may not be good for my arteries, but I'll try to stick with the turkey. So we appreciate Adam for everything he does around this this city, this fine city of ours, and especially for sponsoring the Gator of the Week and the Gator of the Weekend. The Gator of the Week is, or was, but it is, you can't be was, it has to be an is Tara Caesar, who for the Florida volleyball team, of course, they won back-to-back matches on Wednesday and Thursday. Congratulations to them. Finished the season 19-3, regular season. They'll find out next Sunday, where they're going to go for the NCAA tournament. So let's get excited about volleyball in the NCAA tournament. You know, basketball's over. Let's move on to that. Then we can continue with baseball and softball. There's so much going on, as always here. But Caesar's been really good lately. And in this match, the match on Thursday, 14 kills and 13 digs. You know what we call that? A double-double. That's right. She got a double-double, and she's done that before. So congratulations to Tara Caesar and for being the Gator of the Week, and congratulations to the volleyball team. I think it's pretty special to deal with everything they've dealt with and to go 19-3. And you know, I know Kentucky won the SEC, but you know, you still got a chance to really go far in the NCAA tournament. So congrats to Mary Wise as well. So that's our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Now it is time to do our favorite to wrap it up here on a beautiful Friday. And it is beautiful outside. This, that, and the other. It's sponsored, of course, by Ballyhoo Grill and Dark Shackle Insurance. Love those guys, and we appreciate everything they do for us. And also by Ironwood Golf Course. We also stick them in there too because we're trying to still get this text line going and trying to make it. It's working, but I know people are, they're used to watching me. They're not used to having to call people. So, but you can call 600-2300. I'll take one question before I go. But let's get to. I am really rambling today, aren't I? It's been kind of strange. I don't know. I think there's maybe something wrong with my DNA or something. All right, so it's time for this, that, and the other. Brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill and Dark Shackle Insurance. All right, this, Shaka Smart shows up on campus at the University of Florida as an assistant coach. Didn't know much about him. A lot of people told me he was a really good coach. Well, he won't be here long. It's like when Richard Pitino was kind of brought here, it was kind of a Michael Corleone situation. Like, you need to get out of town for a couple of years, like Michael Corleone going over to Italy. So he came down here and then he went back. But with Shaka, he was kind of, this new up-and-coming guy was going to be something special. Everybody kept telling us how good he was going to be. And sure enough, he did. He got a job, head coaching job. So that's the that. The that is what he was able to do at VCU, at Virginia Commonwealth. And I kind of looked it up to remember how good he was. 6 seasons, at least 26 wins every year, got to a Final Four. He was the guy. That was the that of it. But then there's always the other. And the other is that he today took the job at Marquette because Texas really doesn't want him, but they don't want to fire him because it would cost too much, and he did him a big favor by leaving. And they just weren't happy because things had not gone well. And again, this is where you kind of have to do a little bit of research. And again, I know Jeff will be proud of me for doing research instead of just winging it all the time. He won no NCAA wins, none, 0 at Texas, none, 0.0. Their losses were to Northern Illinois, Nevada, and of course this year to Abilene Christian. He just wasn't getting it done there. Under 500 in the Big 12, just wasn't getting it done. I mean, they didn't really want to fire, but think about this. You're at Texas and you make these hires. Tom Herman and Shaka Smart. These are great hires. Everybody loves them. There's no right hires. There's only right guys in the right situation. Neither one of them, they're both gone. Neither one of them worked out. I mean, it just happens sometimes. Sometimes you think hiring the guy that makes the most sense actually sometimes doesn't make any sense. Dan Mullen made a lot of sense, and it has made a lot of sense here. But some coaches don't. I mean, now we're looking at a weird situation. We have the coaching carousel is spinning. You got openings at Indiana and Oklahoma and Texas. Those are big name programs and certainly good in basketball. I don't know that you consider anybody but Indiana a blue blood, and I don't know if you can be a blue blood if you haven't been playing in the tournament for the last 4 years. Do you lose blue blood status? Leonard Hamilton refers to it as the new bloods, and that's what maybe we're seeing more of, and that's what we get in basketball. And as I said before, way back then, earlier in the show, you can't get that in football because you just don't get the opportunities. All right, appreciate our great sponsors, Ballyhoo Grill, Dark Shackle Insurance, and Ironwood Golf Course for bringing us this, that, and the other, and that'll do it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back with another one on Monday. And we'll have a lot of fun with Lee McGriff and Chris Doring. Of course, Doring's been on the show. He was on the very first show we did to help us kick it off. And we wanted to get him back on and talk about I want to talk a lot about college football with him, what he thinks about Florida, what he thinks about Georgia, and this whole myth that Georgia has all of a sudden become this superpower. I'm not quite getting it. Until next time, thanks to Evan for doing a wonderful job as he always does. I am Pat Dooley. I'm deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.